I'm a full-time student. That's what a former classmate answered when I asked him where he worked. And that's probably funny to some of us because many of us also go to class full-time, but we also work full-time outside of college. And if you're anything like me, you don't have a choice. We have bills to pay. We have families to provide for. Some of you have kids at home. It's not an option not to work. So we have to do both. We have to get enough hours at school and we have to get enough hours at work. But there's a glaring problem in colleges today that we all deal with as working students, and we're all too familiar with. Colleges have policies and procedures that are not at all accommodating to the working student. And instead, they cater towards the kids right out of high school that don't have much responsibility. They're able to live in the dorms and focus completely on school. But not all of us have that luxury. And we'll talk about what colleges do to discriminate against the working student, as well as why they need to change those policies and how they can change those policies. First of all, colleges have roll calls. Many classes have mandatory attendance, and that is not always doable for the working student. They do give some leeway, but otherwise it's mandatory. I even know a classmate that aced just about everything, but still got a B in the class because she didn't go to every class, but she did well. How does that make sense? Another thing, in addition to the roll calls, are that there is a significant lack of online options. That's something that is doable for working students, but they choose not to do. They focus on the in-person classes. They also, the class times and the class structures are generally very inconvenient. They mimic the public education system, and it doesn't work for those of us who are adults who work. It just doesn't. So what's the problem with this? Well, a problem could be, according to a Georgetown University Center on Education in the Workforce, they wrote in 2018 that 7 out of 10 students worked, and 40% of undergraduate students worked at least more than 30 hours. That's a large demographic. So why aren't they being accommodated? I work on average about 36 hours if I can. If I stay late and go back and forth quickly between classes and work. And I know other students that are struggling with that too. We lose hours, which in turn we lose pay, and then comes to an inability to provide for our families. It's not doable. It also has an impact on our grades. In fact, there was a study done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2017 that a little bit of work can be helpful, but on average, students that work more than 20 hours, their GPA was significantly decreased up to about 2.95, I think was the average GPA. That's a problem. It has an impact on our grades and how successful we are. Another issue that colleges don't even realize is that there are many individuals that can't even go to college because of these discriminations against working students. They have to work, and they have to work enough to where they can't go to classes and get an education. So what are some changes that can be made? Because there has to be changes. We're often misunderstood as young people that, we've got it good. We can just go to class, not have a worry in the world, and we don't have to work. But that's not true. In fact, a fellow student, Crystal Cox from the University of Missouri, wrote an article for CNBC in 2018 that there's an erroneous belief that younger generation is lazy and entitled. But the problem is that people don't understand the younger generation and the amount of pressure we're under. We're overworked and underpaid. And it would be good for universities and employers to recognize our hard work and meet us halfway so that we can achieve our dreams. Isn't that what they say they want? And I don't know another working student that doesn't agree with that. Changes that the colleges can make are simple. One, don't require constant mandatory attendance for every class. It doesn't make sense. It does not need to happen. And it just makes us lose hours and causes a problem when it comes to providing for our families. Stop requiring mandatory attendance. The other thing on top of that is just to provide online options. Provide online classes so that we can view these classes when we have the time. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in this current pandemic. It's working fine. And it's actually good for a lot of us who are working. We can also offer online simulations. What about labs and some of the nursing requirements, for example, with some of the simple labs? I know I recognize that some of it is necessary, but we can do online simulations for a lot of these labs. Why don't we offer those? In addition to those, something that I don't believe will happen because they need it for the money, colleges are not, or should stop requiring stop requiring classes that aren't necessary for our desired major. I don't need to take an art class in order to attend nursing school. That doesn't make sense. If we stop requiring all these electives and other classes that aren't practical, then we will be able to go to school more and we will be able to achieve our majors. Working students, wouldn't you like to see these changes made? Many of college students are working full-time, and colleges need to recognize that. Make changes to accommodate all your students. No more mandatory attendance. Offer online options and stop requiring impractical courses. We need equal education. Thank you.